Check, check, check. Check, 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 check. Let me make sure. Check, check, check. All right, great. All right, we finally got connection, right? So, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody to the Ethiopian Bible Study Series, episode 11, A Unified World. I'm your host, the High Priest Sakuma Zingami Lambu. Thank you all, and let us begin today's teaching. We're going to be back in the book of Genesis, chapter 11, verse 1. The whole earth was of one language and of one speech. As they traveled east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they lived there. They said to one another, "Come, let's make bricks and burn them thoroughly." They had brick of stone, and they used tar for mortar. They said, "Come, let's build ourselves a city and a tower whose top reached to the sky, and let's make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad on the surface of the whole earth." Yahweh said, "Behold, they are one people, and they all have one language. And this is what they begin to do. Now nothing will be withheld from them, which they intend to do." Now hold on for just a moment. All praise and glory be to Yah the Father. So what we see here is that at this time, right, um, the nations of the world was unified with one language. They all spoke the same language. This was before um, the Most High uh, confused their language. All praise and glory be to Yah the Father, right? So at this time, they all spoke the same language. They all had the same purpose. They didn't want to be scattered abroad across the world, so they wanted to make a centralized location, a centralized tower, a centralized city in which all the various different families that stemmed, the descendants that stemmed from Noah's three sons, that they all could gather in one place and remain one family, right? But of course, this was not the will of the Father. He wanted them to separate, go to the lands in which He had given them, procreate, and cover the face of the earth with people. So their desires to not separate, to be one whole world united, was contrary to the Most High's plans. It was contrary to the Most High's will. And thus he went against it. All praise and glory be to Yah the Father. Get back to the scriptures. Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men built, right? Yahweh said, behold, they are one people, and they all have one language. And this is what they begin to do. Now nothing will be withheld from them, which they intend to do. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So Yahweh scattered them abroad from there on the surface of all the earth. They stopped building the city. Therefore, its name was called Babel, because there Yahweh confused the language of all the earth. From there, Yahweh scattered them abroad on the surface of all the earth. This is the history of the generations of Shem. We're going to stop there for a moment. So basically, when all mankind spoke the same language and were unified in defiance of the will of the Father, the Most High reacted. Now, of course, in the Lost Books, it gets more into detail about the thoughts of those who had organized to build this tower, to build this city in opposition to the Most High. It showed how um, they were planning, if they could, if they had the ability to, which they didn't, but they had planned to try to overthrow he who sitteth upon the throne in the heavens. So it was more than just building a tower and building a city. It was more than just being one people and not wanting to spread abroad, to separate. They had some real desires. All praise and glory, but yeah, some real wicked desires, right? And the Most High went against those wicked desires. All praise and glory be to Yah the Father, right? He went against those wicked desires by making it so that these nations had different languages. And to a large degree, that is still the case to this day. Now, of course, technology has made it so that the language barrier between the nations have weakened, right? They have translators, they have computers that can translate, they have Google Translate, they got all kind of various different programs to translate uh, once separated languages into more understandable, unified languages. You can listen to Spanish, and AI will translate it to English, or vice versa, or to any language that you currently speak. So, because of technology, right, the barriers the Most High had placed, which separated the nations and kept them separate, um, is now been removed because of technology. Again, just showing you, all you sons and daughters of Jacob, what time we're living in, right? So the Most High didn't want these nations to no longer be unified, because when they were unified, their desire, their purpose was to go against the will of the Father. Will of the Father wanted them to scatter, wanted them to repopulate, wanted to take dominion over the whole earth, right? They didn't want to scatter. They want to remain the same people. They want to create a tower and a city to centralize their unity. And oh yeah, by the way, utilizing this tower to reach heaven to try to overthrow he who sat upon the throne. The Most High, knowing their wicked hearts, moved against them, right? And that's the same thing it is today, O you sons and daughters of Jacob. You have these nations aggressively um, trying to create a AI, a synthetic demi that they may worship, not the real Most High, the Yah of Israel, but some sort of synthetic demon possessed AI in which they intend to worship in the metaverse or some other type of virtual reality system, right? They create the vaccination in order to um, push unity through changing of the RNA, DNA, using CRISPR technology, including demonic um, DNA, in order to try to unify the world, not for the Most High, but in opposition to the Most High's plans, His will. So even today, you can see it. It's not something that's far off in the future. It's not something that's, another generation. This is what is happening and it's already begun in this generation, right? They have technology that can translate any language into a language that you understand. They have the vax, right, infused with CRISPR technology and demonic genes, unifying the world underneath the genetic code of the devil, right? So you can see how this world is mirroring what the world was like back in the days of Noah. All praise and glory be to Yah the Father. You can see how the world is um, creating the same conditions of rebellion that existed even back in those days. All praise and glory be to Yah. And just like in those days, the Most High reacted. He seen the wickedness of men. He came down to confuse their language, to stop them from completing what they had desired to do. Now, could they dethrone the Most High? Of course not. That was a fairy tale fantasy. Just like it's a fairy tale fantasy that the wicked of today who believe that they're Antichrist character can give them victory in the end of days over the Most High. That's fairy tales too, and lollipops. And just as those in the Tower of Babel, right, failed, those of today, secret societies, those who try to worship the Antichrist, the devil, they're going to fail as well. All praise and glory be to Yah the Father. That devil is promising the same thing he promised to those in the Tower of Babel, giving them the delusion that somehow by building this tower to heaven, that they were going to dethrone he who sat upon the throne, which didn't happen, obviously. And it's the same spirit that's fueling these nations today with their space force and their space weapons as they attempt to try to prepare for confrontation with the Most High upon his approach. They're just as delusional as those back in the day dealing with the Tower of Babel. They're just as delusional. All praise and glory be to Yah. They're going to be undone just like those in the days of old were undone. these modern day enemies, adversaries of the Most High, is going to be undone as well. All praise and glory be to Yah the Fathers. It is what it is. The wicked don't change, right? Their plans, um, their evil doesn't change. They're not changing the script. The devil ain't changing the script. The same thing he promised those who made the Tower of Babel in the spirit, right? That they would somehow dethrone the Most High if they just finished that tower, if they just finished that city, is the same thing he's telling these leaders of today that they just built that space force in which they did. If they build space weapons, right? If they create the AI demi in order to gain spiritual power, if they unify the nations with the DNA of the devil, which they did through the vax system, if they do all these things and then some, that this will in turn give them victory over he who sits upon the throne, right? Again, that devil is promising these nations the same thing he promised, in the spirit, those who created the Tower of Babel and those who were building the city. Now, of course, we know that they never finished the Tower of Babel, right? Because the Most High intervened. Just like the wicked of today, the Most High is going to intervene when it comes to them with that thermonuclear destruction, right? America believing that they're going to be the ones to lead the one world government, surely disappointed when the nukes drop. All praise and glory be to Yah. So these wicked are still believing the same lies of that devil all the way back in the days of Noah, or actually, if you want to go all the way back to Adam and Eve, when paraphrasing so, the devil told Eve that she could be like God, knowing good and evil, right? All praise and glory be to Yah the Father. So he's been saying the same lies, generation throughout the generations throughout the generations, right? Same lie, a different sucker, a sucker born every day. All praise and glory be to Yah the Father. And it's all culminating in these 7 years, the 7 year great tribulation that we are currently living through, right? These nations are going to rise up, nation against nation, people against people, right? The vaccinated against the unvaccinated. All praise and glory be to Yah the Father. And they're gonna destroy each other. Of course, from that, there's one world government. All praise and glory be to Yah. You know. And this period of time, the 7 year great tribulation, is going to come to its conclusion with the battle, you know, Armageddon, right? When the Most High wipes these nations out, their armies, the remaining armies, so to speak, wipes them out, right? Paraphrasingly so. So let's get back to the scriptures. This is the history of the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old when he became the father of Arpachshad 2 years after the flood. Shem lived 500 years after he became the father of Arpachshad and became the father of more sons and daughters. Arpachshad lived 35 years and became the father of Shelah. Abishad lived 403 years after he became the father of Shelah and became the father of more sons and daughters. Shelah lived 30 years and became the father of Eber. Shelah lived 403 years after he became the father of Eber and became the father of more sons and daughters. Eber lived 34 years and became the father of Peleg. Eber lived 430 years after he became the father of Peleg and became the father of more sons and daughters. Peleg lived 30 years and became the father of Reu. Yes, Reu. Reu. Peleg lived 209 years after he became the father of Reu and became the father of more sons and daughters. Reu lived 32 years and became the father of Serug. Reu lived 207 years after he became the father of Serug and became the father of more sons and daughters. Serug lived 30 years and became the father of Nahor. Serug lived 200 years after he became the father of Nahor and became the father of more sons and daughters. Nahor lived 29 years and became the father of Terah. Nahor lived 119 years after he became the father of Torah and became the father of more sons and daughters. Torah lived 70 years and became the father of Abram, Norah, and Haran. Now, this is the history of the generations of Torah, right? Now, hold on for a moment. So, the Most High, yet again, is going through the generations, the genealogy, this time of Shem, right? And notice that during the genealogy of Shem, you're not hearing anything about Ashkenaz because Ashkenaz don't follow the genealogy of Shem. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob do, but not Ashkenaz, right? They were going through Japheth, not Shem. Paraphrase me so, right? So again, the Most High is blowing the whistle on these fakes and these frauds, right? Those living in our land, pretending to be us, kicking their feet up in our land, causing havoc in the Middle East and around the world, right? The ultimate identity theft has been happening for over 400 years, O you sons and daughters of Jacob, right? Let's continue. Now, this is the history of the generations of Torah. Torah became the father of Abraham, Norah, and Haran. Haran became the father of Lot. Haran died in the land of his birth, in Ur of the Chaldees, while his father, Terah, was still alive. Abraham and Norah married wives. The name of Abraham's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, the daughter of Haran, who was also the father of Iscah. Sarai was barren, right? Okay, so let's hold on for a moment. So the Most High is showing us that Abraham had a brother. His brother died, and Abraham's brother's son, his name was Lot. Now we know this is now going to transverse into the Sodom and Gomorrah, going to traverse into Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now we're getting to the genealogical uh sweet spot, right? This is where the rubber touches the road, O ye sons and daughters of Jacob. The Most High has already in the scriptures shown that the Jewish is nothing but lies and deception. They're Ashkenazi and they are not in the genealogical line of Shem. So they're not Shemitic, right? All praise and glory be to Yah. Now, of course, the whole world is pushing these Jewish as if they're the weird thing, as if they don't know that the word ish means liken unto, right? Like, as if they don't have a dictionary. And even the Jewish are calling themselves Jewish, right? So it's sorcery, it's a uh, veil that is over this world in regards to the Jewish, right? They are blind, groping in darkness. All praise and glory be to Yah the Father. The Jewish just means liken unto a Jew. They stole our identity during slavery. They hid our identity and took it for themselves, right? They financed the slave ships that brought us to America and around the world. They furthered our enslavement both in body and in mind and in soul. They profited off of our misery and our death, right? All the while taking our name as if it's theirs, taking our heritage as if it's theirs, claiming our Yah as if he's theirs. Of course, this is not going to stand, O you sons and daughters of Jacob. They had 400 years while we were in captivity to blaspheme and do all these evil and wicked things. But the 400 years have been completed. Israel has awoken. The Most High has chosen a high priest and sent him unto you to give you the knowledge and understanding of his way through his word, both the written word and the word that he has put in the mouth of the high priest. So time is up. All praise and glory be to Yah the Father. Time's up, and it's about to get real soon enough. Let's get back to the scriptures. Haran died in the land of his birth in Ur of the Chaldees, while his father in the land, while his father Tara was still alive. Abram and Norah married wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Malka, the daughter of Haran, who was also the father of Iscah. Sarai was barren. She had no children. Torah took Abram, his son, Lot, the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai, his daughter in law, his son Abraham's wife. They went from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. They came to Haran and lived there. The days of Torah was 205 years, and Torah died in Haran. Right? All praise and glory be to Yah the Father. So now we're getting into the beginnings of Abraham's story here in the scriptures. All praise and glory be to Yah the Father. Right? So You have the world being scattered, right? They were all the same language, and the Most High came upon them because of what they were doing in regards to the Tower of Babel and building the city of Babel, in which they had plans, wicked desires to utilize this unification, to utilize them all coming together as a weapon to overthrow he who sat upon the throne. Was it possible? Heck to no. It's the Most High. But merely their desire to do so was cause for their destruction. All praise and glory be to Yah the Father. Most High don't play. He knows the hearts of men, right? You don't necessarily have to do a thing in order to be judged for it. Hamashiach said, if you even lust after a woman, look upon a woman with lust in your heart, paraphrasing me, so you've committed adultery, right? Given that that woman is another man's and not actually able for marriage, because a man can have more than one wife, right? So he was letting it be known that even the desire, the plans, the anticipation of doing wickedness is wicked and judgeable. All praise and glory be to God. If you even desired that woman to lust after her in your heart, you've committed adultery. So you didn't have to actually lay down with her and do all this other stuff in order to meet the criteria of adultery. Just like these who was building the Tower of Babel, the city of Babel, who had desires, thoughts, wicked plans to try to overthrow he who sits upon the throne. They sinned against the Most High, even though they couldn't physically do what they had planned. All praise and glory be to Yah the Father, right? Conspiracy, sedition, right? These things don't actually have to be acted out upon to still be considered evil, wicked sin. All praise and glory be to Yah. So the Most High knew, and the Most High reacted because of their evil, because of their sins, because of their dark desires. And that's the same thing it is even to this day, oh, you sons and daughters of Jacob. You got wicked authority talking about a space force, talking about um, um, weapons in space as an attempt to overthrow he who sits on the throne, and they don't think that the judgment's going to come upon them, even if they're unable to accomplish what they're spatting, right? Even if they have junk science, even if they don't have the technology to literally leave the earth and go to Mars, just because they're saying and believing that they will, right? That in time they can leave the earth and escape the judgment, that they can hide themselves in the mountains and the rocks of the earth, believing that they can escape the judgment of the Most High when the judgment is revealed. Again, it's the same thing, O you sons and daughters of Jacob, throughout time, from the very beginning all the way to the end, right? Even these days of the 7 year great tribulation that we're living in, These nations and their wickedness isn't going to change. That devil ain't going to change, and he's feeding them the same evil and wickedness that he's been feeding mankind, right? Those who are susceptible to his charms from the very beginning. And of course, all of sin and come short of the glory of the Most High, right? So at some point, everyone, as, aside from Yahshua HaMashiach, had been seduced by the devil and worked against their own interest until the Most High opened their eyes to the truth, right? And guided them on this narrow road and brought them forth on the other side soon come, right? This narrow path, not everyone's going to travel. Many travel the large road that leadeth to destruction. Many go by there because it's seductive, because it's easy, right? These Christians telling these people that they can do whatever, that the law is done away with, that their JC will forgive them of anything that they've done, anything that they're doing, and anything that they will do, that they're blood bought so they can live like a devil because their tickets already been bought and paid for to heaven. I mean, it sounds seductive, does it not? It sounds desiring, does it not? But it's a lie. All praise and glory be to Yah. The Hamashiach didn't die so that you can do evil and wickedness and still get to heaven, even though heaven isn't even the destination. Like I said earlier in the earlier teachings, those who go up to heaven must first come down from heaven. Those who come from the earth return back onto the earth, as in the case of Adam and Eve and their descendants thereafter. Yes, there's nuance, obviously, but in general, that is the principle. All praise and glory be to Yah the Father, right? So this devil's been lying since the beginning, and people still believing his lies, right? You know, and going by way of the broad road because it's easy, it's seductive. They want to believe that they can live like a devil, but when it comes to the destruction, when it comes to the judgment, they're going to be forgiven. They're going to be saved. They're going to be desired of the Father. You know, I'm sure during Noah's flood, the wicked of that day believed something similar. Because again, that devil ain't come out with no new lies. He is regurgitating the same old lies um, over and over again for the next generation. Same good lie, you know, just a different day, according to them, right? Those who died during Noah's time, right, probably believed that they were the children of the Most High, that they were created by the Most High, that He wouldn't destroy them, that they were made in His image, and that He wouldn't destroy them because of it. Despite them living like a devil, despite them being corrupted by Neanderthal genes, right? Despite the fact that their DNA, RNA was being rewritten by these Anunnakis, despite the fact that they were doing evil, great violence, and so forth and so on, they still believed the lie that they would get out of judgment. They didn't realize their error until the rain began to drop. Just like it is here in these days in Babylon, these wicked doing their gay and homosexuality, they're aborting baby fetuses, eating and drinking baby fetuses, right? In their drinks, in their food, willfully so, committing adultery, fornication, evil, wickedness to their heart's content, believing that their man-made religion, their lily white JC, is going to come out of a bowl of rice to make sure that when the judgment comes for them, they don't get taken up by that judgment, right? Never mind the fact that they brought the children of Israel, the children of the Most High, into slavery, captivity, hard bondage, murder, rape, lynching, castration, forced castration, and the like, torture, and so forth and so on. That Lily White JC is going to wipe that away as well. It didn't work out for the ancient Egyptians who had the children of Israel into slavery and captivity. When the Most High returned, he didn't redeem them. He didn't come to save them. He came to deliver his people. And yes, some of the Egyptians came out with Israel as servants and slaves. Imagine that. And that's going to be the like when it comes to the destruction of Babylon. There are those of each of the nations who will cleave unto Israel as servants and slaves, right? But their nations in which they come forth from is still gonna burn. And it is not gonna be saved because they're man-made religion, nor their strength in arms, nor anything. They're soothsayers, they're scientists, they're medical doctors and whatever. When it's time for this nation and the other nations to take a dive, they're just gonna take a dive. And there's nothing they can do that's gonna be to prevent their fall. And their fall is gonna be great. Starting with Babylon the Great. All praise and glory be to Yah the Father. And then after Babylon is finished, these other nations are going to follow suit. The Most High is already weakening the nations, right? In preparation to bringing forth the first fruit. And even now, these nations are being rocked with earthquakes, like what happened in Venezuela, right? Floods, heat domes, which is happening in the East Coast of America and in Europe. Thousands upon thousands dying because of the extreme heat. These non-melanated uh, people are taking a dirt nap because their skin doesn't adequately filter the sun's radiation. Imagine that. I guess being pale faced, right, isn't good for their health. It is what it is. All praise and glory be to Yah the Father. All right, we're going to go ahead and leave it at that, oh, you sons and daughters of Yikib. Let's go ahead and get our prayer on, right? Yah be thy name, thy kingdom come, that will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us of our debts as we forgive those who debted against us. And lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever and ever. O Yah, please do the words of thy servant, whom you have chosen to be high priest. Forgive the leadership of Israel for our sins, our iniquity. Separate us from our sins, our iniquity from east to west. Forgive also the children of Israel their sins, their iniquity. Separate them from their sins, their iniquity from east to west. Secure the remnant that we lose none of them, even the heathens who cleave to the leadership of Israel. Father, I want to thank you for this truth, this ministry. I want to thank you for healing the breach between my brother and I, allowing us to walk the brotherly covenant. For giving us more food that we can eat, more drink that we can drink. For taking care of us, oh Father. Surely you see what's going on. You brought forth the plague on this nation and other nations. The heat, the flash floods, the earthquakes that are cracking and destroying um, cities, towns, and various places all across the world. More notably in Venezuela, right? You're punishing these nations for what they have done against you by them putting their hands on your children, by poking you in the eye, the apple of your eye, by their strong words against you, by their pride and their arrogancy, by their evil, wicked deeds and ungodly lifestyles, pushing pedophilia, pushing gay and homosexuality, pushing uh, bestiality and the like, right? Their wickedness is soon come to its end, and we patiently wait on thee to move against the wicked, as you moved against the wicked in Noah's day, as you shall move against the wicked in these days. As we patiently wait on thee to sit upon thy holy mountain, that you would give the scepter of power unto the anointed King Israel, and exhort the horn of thine anointed. I want to take the opportunity to bless you, Father. Praise and worship you, exalt your name for he nations, that they may know that we serve the most high Yah in spirit and truth. There's none like unto thee. We'll take the opportunity to bless thee, bless only begotten Son, bless the children of Israel, and bless those who bless Israel. We say all these things in Yahshua Mashiach's name. And the children of the Most High all say, Shalom. Thank you for watching the Ethiopian Bible Study Series, episode 11, right? All praise and glory be to Yah the Father. Episode 11, a unified world, right? I'm your host, the High Priest, Sakuma Zingami Lembu. Thank you all for watching today, and we will see you again next time. Thanks and shalom.